Jake, my boyfriend.
It's snowing.
Winter is coming in.
We have a real connection, a rare and intense attachment. I've never experienced anything like it. I'm thinking of ending things.
Huh?
What?
Did you say something?
I don't think so.
Hello. My name is Steven, and with me this week on this episode of the Movie Club podcast is Tyler. Welcome, Tyler.
I have returned.
Last time we talked about Relic, and this time we talked about a movie that is less straightforward. It is
very lightly.
Yes, it is. We're here to discuss Charlie Kaufman's 2020 film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I would usually say the genre in between 2020 or the year of the film and then the film, its title. But I think that this movie has, if this movie has a genre, I don't know what it is.
I hate it when critics use this, but this is one of the rare instances where this movie really does defy genre.
This is definitely a genre bending kind of, it defies genres. I don't know how good this podcast is going to be because I don't know what this movie was and is about. So I will read off the synopsis of what this movie is about from Netflix's description. The movie.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It says, nothing is as it seems when a woman experiencing misgivings about her new boyfriend joins him on a road trip to meet his parents at their remote farm. So reading that description of the movie, you would think that this would be some kind of like horror thriller movie, but you would be mistaken. Wow.
Your tone of voice is so radically different from the Relic podcast right now that it's like insane. If this doesn't tell you, because like Steven, when did you finish the movie?
I finished the movie today. I started it like at 3:01 a.m. the night that it came out because I was so excited.
Space to watch that.
Well, yeah, my sleep schedule's been off, so that wasn't actually like normal time for me. But then it wasn't because I had just finished 7, which is not related.
A phenomenal movie.
Yeah, so I just finished 7, yeah, and then like a couple minutes later, I started this. And then I
what
realized,
a double feature. Oh my God.
I realized I was not in the headspace and I couldn't handle this. So then I stopped it and I started it again today. And it has not been enough time for me to digest this movie. So that's another reason. That's one of the reasons why I say I don't know how well this podcast is going to be, because I don't know. I just don't know, Tyler. Charlie Kaufman's other movies, there's Synecdoche, New York, there's Adaptation, and then there's Anomalisa. I have seen Oh no, I'm just talking about the movies that he's directed.
Okay,
but he has also written Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is most people's favorite Charlie Kaufman written movie, and that's what they associate him with.
I would say that's probably if you could call it this, the most accessible of Charlie Kaufman's movies, and it's not anywhere near accessible for most people.
Yeah, it's definitely the most normal of most. It's the most structured. I don't even know. Charlie Kaufman as a person, I really like him as a person, like listening to his interviews and reading it's just things he has to say. He's just a very fascinating human being. But this movie, I don't know what it's about, but I also think I do. And I don't understand this movie, but I also like it.
So you did like the movie. That's what I've been waiting for, because I watched the movie last night. About 24 hours ago, I was 30 minutes into the movie, because I started around like 7:30. So the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I know what I think. I think I know what my wife is thinking. What is Steven going to think during this whole thing?
I think that I like it.
Okay.
See, I have this problem where there's movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I would say is one of the more ambiguous movies out of, all movies in general that are widely known. But I feel like this movie is more ambiguous than that. I feel like that this 2001 is more structured, and if someone was like, hey, I want to watch a really weird movie where I just want to completely get my mind blown and not know what it's about, I would be like, okay, have you seen 2001? You should watch that over this movie, because that's a more normal movie than this movie.
This movie is my new benchmark for when someone asks me what is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. This is it.
I also think that this is it.
This is absolutely it.
Anomalisa wasn't nearly as weird as this.
That's next on my list because I have not seen that one.
Oh, you should watch that, and we can do a podcast episode on that.
Oh, absolutely.
That is wow.
Are you just still reveling in everything that happened in the movie?
Like I said, I don't know. I feel like this podcast won't even be usable, and there's no point of listening to this podcast because I have no idea. I'm very interested in knowing what your interpretation of this is. And I feel like this movie is very much just up to interpretation. And I think that there is no one thing that people can say that it's about or people can get meaning of. I think if you talk to 100 people about this movie, there's a chance that a few people might have the same interpretation as you, but I don't think it's I just don't know.
Would you like me to steer the ship for a little bit, Steve?
I think and I was thinking this before we started, and I was like, this is really just going to be Tyler's podcast where he tells me what he thinks the movie's about, because I have no idea. There's not really a discussion.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Also, there's no spoilers or non-spoilers. All my thoughts on the movie I've already given.
This is all spoilers.
There's no plot details. I can be like, oh yeah, I think that this is blah blah blah. I think that if you are a person who doesn't identify themselves as a person who, I wouldn't even say like a cinephile. If you, I can't, there's a lot of people.
I want to sympathize with you with the frustration that you're having right now, because when this movie ended and the credits rolled, I just kind of sat there and I was just like, I have an idea of what I think happened. And I had all these ideas in my head and I was like, one of these is probably right. And so I thought about it for a little bit, and I talked about it with my wife for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I formed my concrete idea of what I thought this movie was. And then I finally went online and looked up what other people thought. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think a lot of different things about this movie, but a lot of the central themes and central idea of what the plot was, most people agree on. Have you done any research on anything about this? Okay.
I don't like doing that, and I don't like doing that kind of thing until I know what I like to form my own kind of interpretation. And like you said, you already had your own, and then you went to look it up, but I just have no idea. So this is one of the times where I need to watch the movie again, and I'm open to watching the movie again because it's so fascinating.
So Do I need to tell you my interpretation, or would you rather me not?
No, you need to steer the entire ship.
Okay.
Because or else
welcome everyone to the Movie Club podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm your host, and I have here Stephen Mills with me.
Hi, I don't know anything about movies. Wait. Hold on. I just will say that this is a movie that I don't think I know a lot of people that would be interested in watching this movie, and a lot of people that I know should not watch this movie. Trey, who used to run this podcast, should not watch this movie. This is not a movie that he would like. My mom, this is not a movie for my mom to watch.
First thing I said, my parents, they would watch it for 10 minutes and cut it off. No. I was going to say, I don't think Ben would like it. Ben, our mutual friend, Ben would not like this movie. I don't think absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So
this is one of those movies. If your favorite movie of 2018 was Infinity War, you're not going to like this movie.
That is definitely
not
true.
To hate on Infinity War, but like this is the most opposite of a blockbuster studio film that you can get. I can't believe this movie got made. If it was anyone other than Charlie Kaufman, wouldn't have happened.
That's why I was very confused when I remember when I first read Charlie Kaufman was going to be he's going to be directing and writing a movie, and it was going to be put out on Netflix. I was very confused because I was like, that doesn't add up at all. A Charlie Kaufman film is living on Netflix is the farthest thing from my mind possible, because it's
like if Christopher Nolan did a Netflix movie. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's different though. I mean, his films are ambiguous as well, but his movies are more accessible. And Charlie Kaufman
I just meant because he's a jerk about people watching them on their phones.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. But then Charlie Kaufman's movies, it's like no one wants to make them. And it's like his last movie was partly funded through Kickstarter.
Really?
Which is crazy to think. Yeah, I know. Anomalisa was, but it's crazy to think that because he was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, and he has
Eternal Sunshine was nominated, was it not?
Yeah. And
didn't it win?
I think no, I don't know if it won or not, but I know that he won for adaptation. But you should.
That's what I'm thinking. It was adaptation.
So I was like, Netflix being like, okay, Charlie Kaufman will do your next movie. I think that's Netflix's Hail Mary, being like, okay, so people don't really think that we make great movies, so we'll get like Martin Scorsese and like Alfonso Cuarón, and we'll get like Spike Lee, and we'll get their movies.
We'll get David Fincher. Did you see the pictures from Mank today?
Oh yeah. Wait, is that going to be through Netflix?
Netflix original comes out. I think it still comes out this year. Wow. And my mind is just crashing at the fact of another David Fincher movie come out for the first time since 2014. Gone Girl. I digress. Next.
See, and they're taking these filmmakers that make movies that
we love.
I can't. I was going to say that wouldn't be made in theaters. Anyway, I don't know. But Charlie Kaufman movie living on Netflix is just boggles my mind, because he struggles with getting movies made through studios, and then Netflix being like, okay, we'll do it. I don't know.
I mean, Netflix just has so much money that they throw at literally everything. I was watching, I was watching an anime called Agretsuko on there earlier, and I was like, I'm watching a Japanese anime about a red panda who's a death metal artist. And last night I was watching Charlie Kaufman on the same platform.
Yeah.
So, it's insane.
Was that a Netflix exclusive, the anime you were just talking about?
I think it came out in Japan and then it was adapted. I think it's a Netflix original. Yeah. The 3rd season just came out. It's really good. It's also insane.
That sounds completely like something insane. I wouldn't like. Anyway, no, I'm just so spoilers from the rest. Tyler, take it over.
All right. So he put his microphone away. Okay, so sorry, it's not a funny movie. Okay, there are funny parts. All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to be talking about Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. The first thing that I want to talk about, and the thing that I really want to cement on the next, however long this takes us, 4 hours, 4 minutes, 2 seconds, 55 milliseconds, time is irrelevant after watching this movie. I really want to stress how important it is that this film deserves your undivided attention. I mean, this is not a watch it on your phone on the subway, bus, car film. This is a watch it in your living room, lights off, just absorb yourself into it type of movie.
I wouldn't say lights off, because then you'll just go into a deep existential depression.
I watched it with the lights off, and I guess I'm okay. I don't know. We'll see if my personality changes in the next 10 minutes.
I'm very not okay.
Yeah.
You can tell by the sound of my voice.
So I guess the first part of me wanted to talk about this movie in reverse, but I think I'm going to go chronological because that might make a little bit more sense. So full spoilers from this point forward. This movie is told out of order, but in order. If you're familiar with something like Memento or Eternal Sunshine, or I talked about this the last time, played the video game The Last of Us Part 2, jumping to a different medium, or watched Westworld, you know how nonlinear storytelling works, right? You have a scene, and then the following scene happens either before or during or after that scene chronologically. In this movie, it's all happening at one time, but the story still goes from A to B. And that sounds absolutely insane and makes no sense. But when you watch the movie, you'll see what I mean. The events that transpire in this movie are happening both in real time, past time, future time, and in some cases, no time. So, Stephen, I'm now going to tell you what the movie was about. Are you ready?
I love how you were like, it takes place in the past, the present, the future, and no time, which is, time is really a construct. And Charlie Kaufman has been trying to give people existential crisis, and has been trying to figure out time in each of his movies. Anyway, continue. Yes, please tell me what it's about.
Okay, everything I'm about to say will only make sense if you have seen the movie. So at the end of the movie, when Jake is in the school and he's, oh my God, hold on. Yes, when Jake is in the school and the unnamed female lead is talking to the janitor. Okay, that's where I'm going to start this discussion. You remember when she's trying to find Jake, she can't find him, the janitor finds her, and then they start a conversation.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, that's where I'm going to start, and then it's going to go from there, because that is the most important part of the movie. So rule number 1, the janitor and Jake are the same person. You knew that, right?
That's what I was guessing, yeah.
Okay, the janitor and Jake are the same person. The janitor is an old version of Jake. So, that being said, the unnamed woman and the janitor have a discussion. And it's really just her monologuing. And she says, I remember meeting Jake at trivia night, but I never knew his name and I didn't give him my number. Okay, which contradicts what happened in the dining room scene earlier in the movie, where that's how they met and that's where their relationship started. Right. The reason why that happens is because the story that she tells at the end of the movie about them never meeting is true, because she is not real. Stay with me. She is not real. She changes names 3 different times during the movies because she is an object of Jake's imagination. Because everything that happens in the movie from the very beginning up until the time where they have that conversation is all what Jake imagined if he and that girl would have actually gone out, because Jake is a delusional incel for the most part. And he keeps imagining this perfect woman. And that's why her name changes. Her looks change throughout the movie. Her accent changes multiple times. And why time is so jumbled. Because jumping forward a little bit, the reason the movie is called I'm Thinking of Ending Things is because he kills himself in his truck in the end. He freezes to death because of hypothermia. That's why he takes his clothes off. And everything that's happening is the last few visions of a dying man who's killing himself. When he goes on stage and sings a song from Oklahoma, that is his death, where he's seeing everyone throughout his whole life, and they're all watching him perform. Nothing makes sense because it's not supposed to. It's all him imagining this made-up story in his head. Does that help with your construction of the movie in your head, Steven?
I think you just gave me a YouTube video version of "I'm thinking of ending things," and then in all caps explained. So yes, it does.
Yes.
I continue.
The first time I heard the woman's name change to something else, I was like, okay, she's obviously not real. That was my first thought about 30 minutes into the movie. I'm like, okay, the woman's not real. She's in his mind. And I grabbed with that through the entire movie and went with that. Nothing that I saw for the remaining hour and a half ever disproved that, including the fact that when they go to the ice cream parlor, she is completely ignored by the two quote unquote prettier girls. And only the other girl that the two prettier girls don't see is the one that talks to her. Because when the two prettier girls say, "What would you like to have?" she orders the 2 Oreo things and he goes, "Same." And then the two prettier girls go, "2 sames coming right up." They completely ignore her. It's just like, I won't say that because it spoils another movie. But that at that point, I was like, okay, she's absolutely not real. Quick aside, because we're bending time in and out of existence. The Robert Zemeckis fake movie was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. When that happened,
that was great.
That was absolutely wonderful. That was so on brand for a Robert Zemeckis movie, and it was just absolutely brilliant. And that happened, and I was just like, that was the point in the movie where I went, okay, literally anything's possible now. We've thrown every convention out the window. It's
every single thing is thrown out of the window. But also, there's a part in the movie where I think you said this wrong earlier. I think you mentioned, well, no, I think it also happens in the school where the young woman is talking to the janitor. She's talking to someone. She mentions how they met, and she mentions how the two characters in the movie, within the movie, this Robert Zemeckis movie, how they met. She was like, yeah, we're serving him, and so on and so forth.
Yep. She says that because this was my next point that I'm going to get to. She's an amalgamation of all the different characters that we've seen Jake talk about. Jake as a janitor is watching that movie. That woman has the curly red hair. The lead woman has the curly red hair. When you see the cartoon playing of the ice cream place, when they're like in the car, wherever that was, her face resembles the face and hair of the cartoon clown. When she shows the parents the pictures that she painted, they're all the pictures that Jake painted. When, what was the other one that was really big? Oh, when they're in the house and they're looking at all the pictures, she sees the picture of herself. She turns back and it's not there because it's not actually her, because it's Jake's imagination. The poem that she recites in the car when she's looking directly at the camera talking about coming home is not her poem because it's in Jake's book in his bedroom from when he was a kid. He was reading it. It's insane. The amount of things and hints that happen all throughout the movie that you don't realize until the very end is staggering.
In the trailer, when she goes, when they look at the picture and she goes, "Who's that?" Or he's like, "Guess who that is?" And she's like, "That's me." And she's like, "No, he's like, "No, that's me." And then she's like, "What?" And then, so that continue.
So another thing I want to talk about that was a really cool scene was the basement scene. So it's very obvious that Jake did not want the woman to go into the basement because the basement represented the truth of who Jake actually was. That's why there were scratches on the door. That's why there was tape on the door, because he wanted to keep people out of that secret. That's why when she went into the basement, the reveal of the secret was the washing machine containing the janitor's clothes. because that was Jake. Jake was the janitor. Skipping ahead to you can't talk about this movie in order because it doesn't happen in order. So if it seems like I'm skipping around, it's because listening to this podcast is the same experience you're going to have while watching the movie. It all takes place out of order. So
besides this podcast will have more answers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And somewhat more structure. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, somewhat. It's just, this is more, it's hard to have a discussion about a movie that is this abstract. You more just have to answer things and then kind of, go after that. But the thing that I thought was really interesting was the constant allusions to Oklahoma, a play which I have never seen, but apparently a lot of people are talking about, if you're a fan of Oklahoma, the movie makes a lot more sense from a thematic standpoint. Apparently the abstract dance that they were doing in the school at the end is a lot of the choreography is from Oklahoma, and those two characters are acting out a dance from the musical.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, but there you go. The song that he sings at the very end is from Oklahoma as well, about him going and finding a woman, obviously, which he never did because he's crazy. And so really this entire movie is just the delusions of an old, dying, creepy janitor. That is what it boils down to. And I don't even know. Like it is such a bizarre movie, filled with some of the most unsettling scenes I've seen in a while. Also, I want to stress, this is not a horror movie in any way, shape, or form. It was marketed and people on YouTube were calling it a horror movie. This is not a horror movie. It is not scary.
I don't think that Charlie Kaufman is... I don't think he can make any movie that's not a drama.
Yeah.
That's not a drama at its core. But really, that's genre bending. Anyway, continue.
The movie has some scary parts to it, just like all of his movies have those one or two like token horror moments. The one in spoilers for Eternal Sunshine, where he's walking through the house and like the people have the warped faces and the camera's going back and forth. Like obviously, it has some scary moments. In this movie, you do have the tense buildup of her going to the basement. You have like one or two little jump cuts that are accompanied by a loud sound that are little fake out jump scares, but are really well done. And of course, every moment that Toni Collette is on screen, you're just like, when's it going to happen? When she's going to go crazy and do something insane? And her acting, okay, all four people in this movie deserve some sort of nomination, award, something for their acting. As soon as the credits rolled, the first thing Krista says was, that's the best acting I've seen in a movie in 2020. And I think I'm going to have to agree, because it was insane. Absolutely crazy.
Also, the only other movie that came out this year was Trolls 2, so that's not saying much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that bar set pretty low. Yeah.
But I would agree on the acting in this movie. I continue.
I've kind of followed Jesse Plemons' career since I know he started his career before it, but when he really rose to stardom in Breaking Bad, I've kind of kept a trail in his career, and one day that man will win a Best Actor Oscar. It will happen.
Made phenomenal choices throughout his entire career, starting with Like Mike, a movie about yes, okay. He plays a bully in that movie, and look at him now in the Charlie Kaufman Netflix movie. Wow.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. No, I watch everything that he is attached to, that he's in. If he became a producer and started producing movies, I would be like, okay, I need to watch every single one of those, because
if he would want to hire us to work at his production company one day, I would be like, yeah, duh.
That is the dream. My God, he has impeccable taste. Anyway, continue.
So it's hard because I was hoping that I knew this was going to go one of two ways. I knew either we were going to do this podcast and you were going to have a profound list of things, or you were going to be completely brain dead, depending on when you watch the movie. So I will try and continue my soliloquy for a little bit longer.
I should have watched this movie a week ago. It didn't come out a week ago.
Yeah,
That's how long.
for real.
That's how much
Like,
how much amount of time I needed to digest this movie.
this isn't even like a podcast discussion. This is like a how-to guide on how to survive this movie.
Seriously, no, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you need a good day. I would not have been prepared to talk about this any sooner than 24 hours after watching it. We could have delayed, but we're here now. So here you go.
Should have. We'll come back and we'll do another. We'll have an actual discussion in 24 hours.
This one deserves a part 2. But
Seriously.
I mean, this movie is so unique, and I've watched a very weird stretch of movies recently. The movie that I watched just a few days ago prior to this was The Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson. So that's a good foil, a nice, tightly packaged, in order funny movie compared to this horrifying, mind-numbing plot monster. But one thing, this is the best segue in the history of your podcast right here. The reason I mentioned Grand Budapest Hotel is because I want to talk about the aspect ratio of this movie. I was surprised that it was 4:3. I also love that it was 4:3 because I felt like I was being in a claustrophobic tunnel the entire time. The composition of the shots in relation to the aspect ratio in this movie were unreal. Absolutely unreal. I love how everything was this nice, perfect square, as if you're watching an old time play or an old timey movie. And I love it. God, I love it when directors play with aspect ratio, when they play with color, and when they play with resolution. Like, make the whole movie in IMAX, or do the big action scenes in IMAX, or be in like Grand Budapest Hotel, where you change aspect ratio like 7 different times throughout the movie. Or David Fincher's new movie Mink is in black and white. Robert Eggers just said, forget all of the past 50 years of cinema, let's do it 4:3 and black and white, and just messed everything up. And I love it when directors are bold and go for that vision, because even though people may not actively realize that, subconsciously they're like, something's different about this. I mean, that's the first thing I noticed is, oh God, it's going to be 4:3. And I had to adjust all my TV settings and make sure I wasn't in the gaming mode. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a real cinematic experience. I'm really ready for this. I wasn't ready for this. It was still insane. But all that I just rambled on about just goes to say, I like it when directors play with aspect ratio, because it really can show off the talent of whoever is behind the camera on how to frame things in a convincing way in different frames. There you go.
Taylor, I have something.
Thoughts, Steven?
I have something to contribute. Finally,
okay.
It's a question. Did you like this movie?
Yes,
okay.
I did like this movie. I like movies for a lot of different reasons. I like Fight Club because I love the humor, and I love the characters, and I love the story. I love Grand Budapest Hotel because I love the characters, and also I love the humor. I love movies like Inception because I like the mystery, and I like the grandeur of the whole movie. I like this movie because I know from this point forward going on in my life, whenever I meet people and we talk film, and I inevitably ask them, did you watch Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things? And they say yes, we're about to have an insane conversation. Because I know this movie from this point forward is going to be a talking point. I felt the same way about Annihilation and Blade Runner 2049 and a movie that you may have forgotten about. And for those of you out there who have seen this movie I'm about to mention, this is the closest thing that I can think of to I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and that was Primer.
Ooh, I wouldn't do that movie. I wouldn't do this movie like that. That's a huge disservice to this movie.
It is, because Primer was not great, but Primer was told in this insane, out of order, multiple timelines happening at once scenario. And that's like, I'm Thinking of Ending Things is still so unique, but if I had to choose a movie whose structure most closely resembled this, it would be Primer. Story-wise, Primer was a garbage fire, just terrible trash heap. But, this movie actually had something to say and was really good. No disrespect to Shane
Carruth.
Him, because the whole fact that Primer was made was a miracle and basically was done by him. No disrespect to that, just not my cup of tea. This movie, however, I'm thinking of ending things. Like the first thing I said to Krista when it was over was, this is the weirdest movie I've ever seen, and how on earth did that get made? Like, I can't imagine some Hollywood executive or someone at Netflix reading the script and going like, yeah, that'll work. Let's give him a few million.
I think Netflix just met with Charlie Kaufman. They were like, we want to produce your next movie. And he was like, be careful what you wish for. And then he made this movie.
And I mean, it's insane thinking about the genres in this movie, right? We have drama. We have some elements of black comedy. We have animation. We have theater musical. We have horror. And we have elements of film noir. Off the top of my head, that's what I can come up with.
Yeah.
Oh, and meta film and romantic comedy with the whole Robert Zemeckis thing. I mean, this movie takes, I would say about, if you really added up all the genres and subgenres, about a dozen genres and combines them into one. And there are literally scenes that are happening to where it's two genres at the same time. You have like the heartbreaking drama of the mother dying, while at the same time something hilarious is happening, or the dog constantly shaking, and then the room just going completely dark. And it's like, it's insane.
Yeah. I think we should wrap it up. But I don't have any thoughts to wrap up.
I mean, this whole podcast was kind of a ramble, but this movie, you really have to do that with this movie.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think anyone out there is going to be like, I need someone to constructively talk about this movie from A to B. No, you need someone to solve the puzzle of what this movie was.
This movie really is a puzzle.
That's the best I can do for now.
I think I need to have like 20. I need to have just this whole podcast is just going to turn into, I'm thinking of ending things discussed with like 20 different people each day, because I need everyone to watch this movie that I think that would like this movie. And then we need to discuss it on, like, there really needs to be a part 2 of when I digest this movie more.
Yes.
And watch it again. And then I need to discuss it with 20 other people,
because I really want to have a discussion with you about the themes and about the allegorical context of this movie, because it really is fascinating. But that is really a part 2 conversation to have, because I need some more time to think about that. Can you even give this movie a number out of 10?
No, definitely not.
It's a no idea out of 10.
It was the same way with me when Midsummer ended, but for completely different reasons.
Oh, I love that movie. Just real quick to throw it on there, Steven normally does this, but I'm going to do it because I know he's indisposed. The movie does have an 83 on Rotten Tomatoes with 128 reviews, an average rating of 7.69 out of 10, and on Metacritic, it's currently holding at a 78 out of 100 based on 35 critics. So generally, reception to the movie was positive. Unless they got press copies of the movie 4 months ago, I don't know how anyone could score it yet, but there you go.
Thank you, Tyler, for hosting this podcast for me. I really appreciate it. While my mind was in a blender because of this movie. One last thing I will say. If you are a movie person and you like stuff like this, and you are a fan of Charlie Kaufman or, mind-bending movies, and you're on the fence about it, go ahead and watch it. Like, it's definitely one of those where you just need to watch it and then form your opinion. Don't be like, oh, it's going to be too weird for me. Just watch it and go from there. That's my best piece of advice. But if you don't like weird movies, do not watch this movie.
Yeah, if you think that it's probably not going to be your thing, it's probably not your thing.
If you're like, I've never even heard of 2001: A Space Odyssey, you probably should not watch this movie.
Why are you listening to this podcast?
Tyler, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
Oh my gosh. I have a YouTube channel that I post some fun stuff to occasionally. If you just search my name, Tyler Lee, Leigh on YouTube, you'll find me. I have an Instagram that I never use You can find me too I think it's Tyler_Lee too. And then I have a Twitter and a Facebook that I never use. Don't worry about finding me on those things.
You have a Letterboxd I just made you start.
Oh yeah, I have a Letterboxd. Hold on, I'll find my username. Tell the people where they can find you while I do that. Hold on.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Cut to Black Film. Cut T-O Black. Oh wait, no. I lied. It's not Cut to Black Film. Let me redo that. Shaquille's cut that out. You can find me on Letterboxd at Cut to Black. T-O, not the number 2. Tyler, where can they find you on Letterboxd?
Letterboxd Tyler_Lee Leigh.
Fantastic.
Letterboxd. I need to add this movie to my Letterboxd, but I don't know what I'm going to rate it yet. So we'll see.
Whenever you write or rate it, definitely make sure you put the link to this podcast whenever it comes out in a billion years.
Yes.
After I've actually digested the movie and thought about it.
We don't know when it's going to come out. It may already be out. It may be coming out in a few days. It might be dead.
That's true.
Might be infested with maggots.
There's no time.
No time. Time's a flat circle.
Thank you, Tyler, for joining me and hosting this podcast for me.
It has been a pleasure. I always love it.
Make sure you come back next Wednesday and join me for another episode of the Movie Call Podcast, where I hopefully will have something to contribute and I will actually host that episode. Tyler, thank you for being on once again, and thank you everyone for listening. Wow. Thank you. Goodbye.
People like to think of themselves as points moving through time, but I think it's the opposite. We're stationary, and time passes through us.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Make sure that you check out the other shows that we have on the Facebook, the other main podcast that comes out every other Tuesday. Make sure you leave a like, share it with your friends and your family. Go check out our YouTube where we have content from other Production 1200 works. And make sure you follow us on the Instagram. We post sometimes there. We'll do more. We'll try. Maybe. Like us on iTunes podcast, rate and review. Give us them 5 stars. And we'll see you next time.